and welcome to Tracy Momey Reads. I am back today with another book review. Let's jump right in. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Guilty Husband by Stephanie DeCarolis. The Guilty Husband. And as you may be able to tell, just based on the title and that book cover alone, it is a mystery, suspense, thriller type book. And it actually falls in the category, subcategory of a domestic suspense. And I've talked about this before. Most domestic suspense books, they have, stories where a marriage or a husband and wife are kind of at the center of what's going on. Someone is being betrayed. There's revenge. Most of the time, it's a couple that are well off. They're very wealthy. They live in a gated type community or, suburban type community. They check all the boxes, making this like a quintessential domestic suspense book. And it also here on the cover, there's a tagline that says, "It only takes one lie to destroy a marriage." So you already know that somebody's cheating. I mean, it has to be that, or somebody is lying about their who they are, like their actual identity. Those are normally the two things that you're gonna see in books like this. Well, in this case, and I don't believe it's a spoiler, I think that it may have been in the blurb, but in this case, the husband, his name is Vince, he ends up cheating on his wife. But the thing that happens is, so when the story starts off, like within the first couple of pages, the police have come to where Vince works. He is the CEO of a huge tech firm, which most of these type of characters, they're normally in charge, or they're the boss of the owners or whatever. And the police come in to inform him that one of his interns, a girl by the name of, a young lady by the name of Layla, they found her body and that she's dead, right? And so they're just coming to kind of talk to people at the company to see if they knew her, to try to piece together what may have happened to her. So right out the gate, Vince is like, "Oh yeah, I knew who she was, but I didn't have anything to do with her as far as day to day. You may want to talk to her supervisor. I didn't know her that well. I didn't know her that well." Like, and he's constantly kind of like trying to distance himself from this person, which is already a red flag, not only to the reader, but the detective. And because the writer lets us know early on that, Vince is a liar, because he's saying he's lying. Like, he'll say, as the police are interrogating him, well, not really interrogating him initially, but they're questioning him at his office when they first come by, there's like this imagery that she's portraying of him like trying to make sure he's not sweating. "I'm sitting up straight so they don't see that I'm upset. No, I don't know her that well. I lie." Like there's like these little like things within the dialogue and within the content of what's happening that the author is telling us he's lying, y'all. He said he didn't know her, but he really does. So already you're like preparing yourself for, okay, is he a murderer also? And so he becomes suspect number one. But then as you go through the story, and I love stuff like this, everybody, in my opinion, becomes a suspect because they're all acting shady. They all have these little things that they did or that they knew about. That the author uses this mechanism where she has this news/gossip rag, think like Daily Mail or something, and they have gotten like exclusive like information from a source close to the case. They've gotten like pages, because there's they ended up finding a diary that Layla was keeping, kind of talking about this affair she was having with Vince. But when the police find it, there are pages missing, and before they can even start piecing together their case, the Worldview publishes some of those pages, right? And they're like splattering it all across their site and their pages that Vince is a murderer. And he's very well known in the community, quasi famous, like celebrity like level, because of what he's done in his career. So already he's in the court of public opinion, and he has a wife. Her name is Allison. And the two of them, they when you look at them or on paper, they seem like the perfect couple. She's like a trophy wife. She's a little bit younger than him, always perfectly coiffed. She does yoga. She keeps herself up. And but they weren't happy. They were having some issues in their marriage, which left that door open for somebody else to come in and for Vince to have an affair. But as the story goes on, we come to learn that Vince wasn't the power player. He wasn't even the one that, he thought he was so in control of that situation with Layla, and he wasn't. Turns out that he may have been a puppet the whole time, right? And somebody else was pulling the strings. So yeah, everybody is suspicious at this point. It seems like anybody is capable. You have a policeman that ends up being dirty, doing some crazy stuff. You start to think Allison may not be as sweet as, originally thought. He even has a best friend who's an attorney who, when they were younger, his best friend kind of took him under his wing because he was a popular guy, a jock. And Vince was like this little skinny, nerdy kid, who got picked on. But all these years later, now Vince is well known. He's attractive. He has all this stuff. And he has Allison, who his best friend appears to have a crush on. So, you just start thinking, could the best friend have, done something to set this guy up? Because midway, you're totally realizing that this guy did not kill this woman. He did not. So he becomes, the police totally think they have their guy. They don't even really continue to look. Other than what they continue to look for is just more evidence that Vince did it. But as the reader, you're like, no, this is something else is up. Somebody else is behind this. And like I said, Allison, his wife, his best friend, the lawyer, there's a corrupt police officer. There's even a former intern that kind of comes into play. So it's just so many characters, and it's not really hard to keep up with them because they're not major characters. Just as quickly as they kind of come on the scene and like you think that maybe they had something to do with it, it's cleared up in a few pages whether they did or not, and the story kind of goes on that way. But for a while, like, I didn't know who was leaking stuff to the World View, or why they would be trying to set Vince up, or who was trying to set him up. And everything kind of becomes clear, I want to say about maybe 3 or 4 chapters before we get to the end. And that's the only thing that I did not like about this book. Most suspense or thriller books, either in the last chapter or maybe the chapter right before, because normally the last chapter is like an epilogue or kind of tells you like how the characters are doing after that bombshell previous chapter. But in this one, I feel like we found out what really happened to Layla, and we get all this stuff a little bit too soon. I would have liked for that to happen maybe at the last chapter or the chapter right before, because when I finish like suspense and mystery books, I want to like have my mouth hanging open like, what? But we find out what happens, and then the book kind of just keeps going on for a few more chapters, which I feel like was filler, or which I feel like could have like preceded that, because once you know who did it, once you know what happened, once you know why it's happening, okay, it's kind of like, let's close the book, we're done. So I don't know that those, especially the last chapter, I mean, I guess for people that really want full closure, like, okay, where is this person at this moment that this book is being, is closed, then maybe it's good. But for me, I felt like I could have been done like when the thing was revealed or the next chapter. I don't feel like we needed 3 or 4 more chapters after that. But all in all, I really did enjoy The Guilty Husband. It had, like I said, a few different elements than the average domestic suspense book. Because even at one point, Vince, he was like doing his own investigation. He hired a private eye because he felt like he couldn't trust anybody. So, yeah, and I think that was the first time like that the main character from books that I've read where they were trying to prove their innocence, and they were like doing their own kind of like manhunt, or, putting together pieces and going to visit, suspects and family and all of that stuff. But yeah, if you enjoy books that that are suspenseful, fast-paced, that have a bit of mystery in them. If you love the domestic suspense subgenre, if you love to constantly be guessing and wondering who did what and how they're connected. Because that was my thing with this book. I was like, but why would he and how was she? But, and then how you have the author kind of tie all that up for you, then you would absolutely love The Guilty Husband. Again, like I said, I think that the extra chapters that we got after you kind of reveal what was going on, they just weren't as satisfying for me. I just would have liked to have a bomb drop and be done. But as far as everything else, I feel like she tied everything together well. It all made sense. Some of it I had kind of predicted as we got closer to the reveal, but it didn't take away from it. It still was because right after, you find out what happened to Layla, that's when another shock comes. And like I said, we could have kind of ended it maybe with that next chapter. But yeah, so anyway, overall, I did rate it a 3.75. Oh yeah, The Guilty Husband by Stephanie DeCarolis. If you have read The Guilty Husband, I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. What did you think about the book? Do you feel like it kind of went on too long, or did you appreciate having totally full closure on the book? And thank you guys so much for watching. And for all of you that have subscribed to my channel, I sincerely appreciate it. If you have not subscribed, please take the opportunity to do so now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you next week with another book review. Bye.